Hello, everyone. This is Melanie from Lake Beams Treasure, and today is Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. I am super excited to bring this video to you because basically this may be my greatest acquisition that I have to date. So, for those of you who know, I've made some pretty interesting purchases. I bought out a Blockbuster DVD collection, and I'm still selling those DVDs to this day, which amazing collection. I did buy once Hero Quest, the board game, and sold that. I bought an amazing collection of World of Warcraft. It was a castle that you would have to put together. Sold that. And then most recently, I was able to sell an entire collection of Lewis Lamore leather-bound copy books, and I have to say, compared to those sales, this may be the greatest sale that I'm going to make. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because this is all going to go up on eBay and I'm going to do it as an auction. But I want to share with you what this is as well as the history because a lot of my items, when they're high ticket items, I do some research and I'm going to share with you some of the research. And what we're going to talk about is the history of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I know there's plenty of you out there who played the game, who maybe played with it years ago, who still play the game. I have a lot of friends right now who are always trying to get me to play a campaign. I've played a couple of campaigns, but I was never really interested in it. But it's always been one of those things that have been a bolo item whenever I'm out and about in the wild. So let me share with you this as well as some history because, like I said, I am just thrilled. So, first off, I went to an estate sale, and in the estate sale, they had boxes of games. So, I made a deal with the owner for the box of games. I'm not going to say what the deal was, and it was just a whole bunch of all tabletop games from the 70s. Now, I didn't even look at all the games because as soon as I saw this, I pushed everything else to side and focused strictly on this. And what this is I'm going to show you because super excited is Dungeons and Dragons. This is the 3 volume set of Dungeons and Dragons. And if you notice, I'll explain this in a minute. So let's talk about the history a little bit, and then I'm going to get into details with this. Because there was a more surprise when I opened this up, because this is the 3 volume set. There was a little more in it. So let's start off with the history. The history of Dungeons and Dragons basically begins with a medieval war game called Chainmail. Now, I'm going to show you this. It was done by Gary Gygax and his friend Jeff Perrin. They owned a hobby store in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and what they did was they developed this game called Chainmail together. It was based loosely on the game called Siege of Bodenberg, which is published by Strategic and Tactics magazine back in 1967. Jeff Perrin developed his own rules for that miniature game, and Gygax expanded on these and wrote them down. They published it through Read On Games in 1971, and it became very popular. In 1975, TSR, which is Tactical Studio Rules, published 1 year after the firm's successful publication of Dungeons and Dragons. So, for starters, we have Chainmail. And what this says is Chainmail, Rules for Medieval Miniatures by Gary Gygax and Jeff Perrin, 3rd edition, published by Tactical Studio Studies and Rules. Now, this is the 3rd edition. If you happen to have the first and second, it would be a yellow copy, and instead of saying Tactical Studies, it'll actually say Read On Games. This is, as you can see, it's a beautiful copy. There is some slight wear and age to the edge here, but you could see this is an amazing edition. I probably should be wearing gloves, but I'm not going to go that crazy. Beautiful edition um, of the Chainmail, and this is the 3rd edition, and it was, I just want to see, 3rd edition, copyrighted 1975. So that is Chainmail. This was actually inside the Dungeons and Dragons box. Now, what is D&D? Dungeons and Dragons was a fantastic medieval war game campaign playable with paper, pencil, and miniature figures. It is the first ever commercial release Dungeons and Dragons game in 1974. It is also officially known as Dungeons and Dragons 3-volume set, the Dungeons and Dragons Collector's Edition, or simply Dungeons and Dragons. It is also referred to as the white box, brown box, or wood grain box. Its first release is referred to the original Dungeons and Dragons. It consists primarily of 3 rulebooks: Men and Magic, Monsters, and Treasure, The Underworld, and Wilderness Adventures. All 3 are credited to Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. Now, if we noticed, this happens to be the wood grain box. And I'm going to show tacked 3-volume set, originally $10, which they said that would have been about $60 in today's market, possibly more with how crazy games go. But I mean, if we take inflation, $10 is about $60. Rules for fantastic medieval war games, campaigns playable with paper and pencil and miniature figures. Now, Dungeons and Dragons initially appeared in a wood print pattern box with cover art of a man on horseback, which also appeared on the cover of Men in Magic. It would later be discovered that this art was traced without permission from Strange Tales number 167 in April of 1968 on page 11. It would be changed in later printings. The decision to use a wood grain pattern box was based on the ready availability of such boxes at the printing company. Likewise, the decision to print in a 3-booklet format was based on what type of paper were available and how many pages the printing company could staple together. Previous rulebooks, such as Chainmail, were printed on single book format. So as you can see, Chainmail, single book. Now, the 3 books which are included in the box, here's all 3 books. There was Volume 1, Men of Magic, and that is the same artwork as the cover. Now remember, this is Volume 3. When they went to Volume 4, they had to change the cover work because this was a tracing. So that's Volume 1. Volume 2 is Monsters and Treasures. And then Volume 3 is The Underworld and the Wilderness Adventures. Now, there's one thing in regards to this, and I'm not too sure if this is an original or if this came with the book, and I have to research this. So if anybody knows this answer, but when I open up this particular page, you notice there's a picture of a dragon, and it's by K. Powell. It says 7 of 73, it looks like, with dragon. So I don't know if that is a drawing that came with this, or was this somebody who owned this previously and drew this? I mean, it's very hard for me to tell. I can't tell whether this is an actual drawing or it was printed like this. So that's something I'm going to have to research. But I have all 3 books, and like I said, the books are in beautiful condition. I mean, this doesn't even have the wear like this one does. But these are beautifully stapled. I mean, I want to say I feel like they've just been read through once. There's no highlightings or anything else. The only question that I have is that particular drawing, if that drawing came with this. Because when you look at the other ones, it's a blank inner cover. So that's the one question I have. Now, in addition, so this was the original, which would have been the 3-volume set. It would have came with the 3 volumes. It would have also come with a scorecard or a reference card, whatever you call it. This does not have that reference sheet. So, in a sense, it's not complete as far as that particular part. However, included in it are also all these correction sheets. Now, I don't see anything in regards to correction sheets, but this discussed like various corrections from Men in Magic, from Volume 1, Volume 2, This talks about like, so I'm assuming you need to take these and insert them in there for corrections. And nobody that I'm looking at talks about these particular corrections. So I think this is rare in itself right there. Now to continue. Dungeons and Dragons were reprinted several times and grew in popularity. A second printing of 1,000 copies was made in January of 1975, which included an error sheet, and sold out in just under 6 months. And then in April, well, actually, there's the answer, correction sheet. Okay, it included the error. In April of 1975, a third run of 2,000 copies was made with Heritage Model of Dallas, Texas, which sold out in 5 months. So basically, what this means is the first edition, there was only 1,000 copies. The second edition, there was only 1,000 copies. This particular edition, which was the third edition, there was 2,000 copies. So at this point, there's only 4,000 copies floating around of this. Then when they went to the fourth edition, that was when they changed this and they went from the wood grain box to the white box and had to change the cover. So that's a little bit of information that this is the known um, last known edition before they had to change to the white box. So I'm excited about that. Now next, there was a supplementary rule book called Greyhawk. Greyhawk was written by Gary Gygax and Robert Kuntz for the original edition of Dungeons and Dragons. It has been called the first and foremost important supplement to the original D&D rules. Although the name of the book was taken from the home campaign supervised by Gygax and Kuntz, based on Gygax's imagined Castle Greyhawk and the land surrounding it, Greyhawk did not give any details on Castle or the campaign world. Instead, it explained the rules that Gygax and Kuntz used in their home campaign. He introduced a number of character classes, spells, concepts, and monsters used in subsequent editions of D&D. So, what do we have? We have the Greyhawk Supplement 1. Now, this particular one, Tactical Studios as well, it's rules for fantastic medieval war games campaigns, playable with paper and pencils and miniature figurines. And this one does have a drawing on the inside. It has Lizard Man, but this you could tell that it's actually part of the book. I can't tell with that particular one. I don't know why, because I can't tell if it's a printing of a drawing or it's somebody's actual drawing. This is from the second printing of July 1975. So this is the second edition of Greyhawk. Next, we go to the Blackmore expansion, which was published by TSR in 1975 as a 60-page digest-sized book. It had additional rules, monsters, treasures, and first role-playing game adventures ever published. It was the Temple of the Frog. The booklet was named after Dave Arneson's original role-playing campaign world, Blackmore. It is the second supplement to the original D&D, and it added 2 new character classes to the game: the Assassin, a thief subclass, and the Monk, a monastic martial arts cleric subclass, with some attributes to fighting and thief classes. So what do we have here? We have the Blackmore Supplement 2 set. And this particular one was made in 1975. And it is, once again, a beautiful edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So, I was shocked when I opened up this collection because, like I said, the original book is simply the 3 campaigns: the Men of Magic, the Monsters and Treasures, and the Underworld. But included in this box were the rest of them as well, all put in this nice box, which was Chainmail. And this was way before. The Chainmail was back in 1971, before they even did Dungeons and Dragons. And then the Blackmore supplemental text, and then the Greyhawk supplemental text. This, I'm telling you, is an amazing, amazing collection. I am going to start this off at eBay, and I'm going to start it off a little high. It will either sell or it won't sell, but just the potential of what I have here, particularly if I decide to piece it out. I'm not going to piece it out. I'm going to do it as one big lot. It is amazing, and I am super excited. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to put it on a 10-day auction, and hopefully it will sell. But if you love Dungeons and Dragons, if you are a collector, this is a beautiful collection of D&D. So I can't tell you how super excited I am about this collection and the fact that I just recently acquired it. I can't even wait to look at the rest of the stuff because, like I said, there's a whole collection of tabletop games that I did get from the 70s. So I think this is going to be an amazing, amazing sale. So I would love to hear your opinion. If anybody knows any information or more information about D&D, please put it below. If you are a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, I would love to hear it. And all I have to say is wish me luck. Maybe I'll be able to share with you an update if this actually sells or not. I'm hoping. I am keeping my fingers crossed. And like I said, I'm really, really excited at the potential. And that's the key word, potential, because who knows if this will or will not sell. With that, this is Melanie from Light Beams Treasures. Take care, everyone, and have a great day.